Every year I go through my library and I ask myself, do I want these books on my shelves? And these are all the ones that did not make the cut. Some of these I have read and did not enjoy, or I think someone else would enjoy them more. And some of them I haven't read, which doesn't happen as often, but maybe it's an author I just am not interested in reading more from, or a series I will not be completing. So we have about 50 to go through, so let's get to it. The first couple ones, there's absolutely no hard feelings. These are series from Term Peers. They're like middle grade fantasy that I probably would have enjoyed growing up. They're all like strong female characters, some magic, some adventures, but I don't really care for middle grade. I bought them again a couple years ago before I knew more about what worked or did work for me. So I will be donating them either to friends or like little library close to school. So no hard feelings there. I haven't tried them, but I just don't really enjoy middle grade. So these have to go. Let's go through a big pile of Stephen King's books. I don't hate his books. I still have a couple on my shelf, the ones that I do plan on reading. I have read a lot at this point. He has so many books, but I know my taste a little bit better, and I am a little pickier with what I pick from him because of the way he writes. His endings are not necessarily the best. So again, there's a few I will be reading, but all of these that I bought like years ago, I remember I did a book haul where it was like 30 books for $8. They were not expensive, but I'm more picky with my time. So there's a few that I'm not interested in reading. So I have The Bazaar of Dreams. Yes. I do have Desperation. I have Insomnia. I have Revival. The Tommy Knockers. Do I have another one? I feel like I have more somewhere. So there's a few of his really big books that I'm just not interested in reading. I do have the 1163, whatever, that one that everyone wants me to read. I will be keeping it. I will be reading it. And I have a couple of shorter ones, again, that I'm interested in trying. But a lot of the really big ones that I'm not intrigued by, they don't have to say. They take so much space on my shelf, so they have to go. I do have book 1 and 2 of this series, but this one is book 6, and I'm not even sure I'm going to get to book 2 because I've read some of his other books and I did not care for the way his female characters were written. So First Lord's Fury does not need to stay on my shelf. Again, if I really enjoy book 1 and 2, I can get it from the library or something, so I don't need to have that on my shelf. Again, I don't do that anymore, buying book 6 in a series. I have learned my lesson, but you know. I do have Amadeus, which I had read book 1 in the book by the author. I think it was 21 Lessons for 21st Century, and they were fine, but they're not really the kind of nonfiction I'm really interested in now that I know my taste more. So this one doesn't have to stay on my shelf. I haven't read that one, but like I said, I've read more by the author. Oh, okay, this is a recent one. Last month, I tried the first book in this adult fantasy trilogy. Again, I bought the whole trilogy, and I didn't care for the female characters, but just in general, the way the author writes his characters. I went into details with a lot of quotes in the video, but yes, I tried book 1, made it like less than 100 pages in before I had to give up, and 3 books can now go off my shelf. Someone's gonna be really excited to find this, so that's okay too. When I did go ahead and scan every single book that I had so I can, you know, try to be more productive with going through my physical TBR, I did find out that this book, again, that had been on my shelf for years, that I had bought when I went crazy when I first started, Pandemic, is actually book 3 in a series. So again, that does not need to be on my shelf. Again, I don't do that anymore. I can't be the only one. Like when you first start watching BookTube, you get a little too excited, and library sales books were 25 cents. It's hard to blame myself, but I use my library a lot more. I mean, I still support them through library sales because they're still affordable, but I've learned lessons. Speaking of which, this was the second book in that same video where I tried the book and didn't care for book 1, and I had the whole trilogy. This one I made it further, actually. I do not need to lose that. I made it 160 something pages into it, and again, I wasn't really interested in the way it was written. I feel like the story was barely starting, and the female characters were either bitches or whores, and listen, it's barely me exaggerating here. It's basically what it was. So yeah, it just wasn't for me, and someone else will be really excited to find the whole trilogy. So I'm actually going to be letting friends and family go through this, and then most of them I will be donating to the library so they can make money again. Ooh, this one is a last second decision. I feel like I probably could go through my shelf a bit more to get rid of more books, but I have plenty of space, so I'm not feeling too pressured to just make a lot of space. But I had a little talk with myself. I read Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson almost 10 years ago, and I haven't picked up book 2 and 3. I've found out that I'm not that into superhero, although this one is like superhero, supervillains, but I really didn't care for the way actually in general that he writes teenage boys. He writes them really, really young. Like they might be, I don't remember how old he is, like 16, whatever, but he reads like a 12 or a 10-year-old. I didn't care for it. I didn't care for the way he writes, again, kind of love interest for that age. And I remember that he had invented a couple swear words for like the world, and like they were used so much. But I was still intrigued by the way, you know, it ended. Like he's always great with endings and the way that he uses powers and like magical powers, the world building. So for years I kept telling myself, I'm going to continue, but I just never did. I'm sure it's fantastic, but again, at this point, I know that why I'm a lot more picky. And with the way it's written, it's almost middle grade. So yeah, this one is a harder decision, but it's been almost 10 years. I checked, it's 2017. Like, if I'm being realistic, I'm in the middle of so many series. I do not need to have this one on my shelf, but feel free to convince me otherwise. Ooh, that one was a rough one because I have heard so many great things about Ursula K. Le Guin. I have read a couple of her books, and some I have really enjoyed, like The Laugh of Heaven, but then I tried her really popular fantasy series, and again, didn't really vibe with it. And then I tried this one, hoping I was going to love it. I do like hard sci-fi. I don't remember how far I went into. Oh, there's post-its. So at least 70 pages into it, and I just could not get into it. So I decided to give up. Oh, there's a few post-its. I don't know what's the context for this one. All I saw is deformed eggplant. I've kind of forgotten more of the context. Again, I've heard so many great things about her. I have more books by her on my shelf, so I'm going to continue giving her a shot. But I feel like sometimes you just have to admit that certain authors, no matter how popular they are, they might just not be for you. And that's okay. Like, I have no issue just admitting it. I know, like, there's sometimes it's like a little taboo and people get a little crazy online, but like, again, no hard feelings. I've enjoyed some of her books, but this one isn't for me, and someone's gonna be really happy to find it. Another one that I gave a shot to, but I'm not really into middle grade books, is Where the Red Fern Grows, which I think I was reading this in a vlog where I was reading a bunch of books that made you cry, and I never finished it, and I just had no interest in continuing. So I also was in the middle of this book for years. This is Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. I am a big fan of space, but less a big fan of authors that have scandals, so just don't want it on my shelf. This one, again, no hard feelings against this one, The XX, which was not bad. It was a very like popcorn read, fantasy, witchy. My issue is that the characters acted so young. Like there's a curse, I don't remember the details. What was it? Yes, the two characters when they were younger, they had kind of a little fling, and she hexed her ex, and the situation goes crazy again when they meet again as adult, and they just never tell an adult because clearly they're not acting like adults, they're just busy being together, and I just wanted them the whole time to speak to an adult. This one, no hard feelings again, someone's gonna be happy to find it. Michael Crichton, I have enjoyed some of his books, and then this one read really weirdly, like he was talking about his point of view about women, like very randomly in the book, and I just put it down. I had no interest. This one is just a book I had 2 copies of, or like this one is like in 2 parts, and I had bought part 1 and then eventually found a complete book, so I just didn't keep this one. It's a cute edition though, someone's gonna be happy to find it. I mean, it does say 25 cents on it. The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. I had this on my shelf for years. I started it, never finished it, and then more recently I heard that it came out that most of his stories were like greatly exaggerated or something, which may or may not be true, but it just reminded me that it was on my shelf. And again, I started it years ago, never continued, so can't go. This one, oof, The Beauty Myth by Naomi Wolf. Okay, I read Doppelganger by Naomi Klein, and she was mentioning in part that a lot of people mistake her on the internet with Naomi Klein Wolf, and turns out that she used to be, when this came out, you know, seen as a very progressive, like feminist kind of author, and more recently she has taken a really big turn to the right, And yeah, it just made me realize I had that book on my shelf and I have no interest in reading it, and I don't want it to be on my shelf because, again, I'm trying to get to a point where my shelves represent my taste, whether I have read the book or not, you know? So that can go. I have enjoyed some of the books by this author, but The Friend Zone, I started the audiobook from the library and pretty much instantly, I believe there was like a cheating trope, which I really do not care for, so I just will not be continuing. I do have book 3 in the series on my shelf, and I know her series are more like companion novels. Can I still read that one? Let me know. If not, I'll just get rid of it too. Okay, the next one, prepare yourself. It's very bright, okay? Probably glows in the dark, but this is The Eternal Return of Clara Hart. I bought this book because I really like the trope of someone reliving their day or life over and over again. So in this one, this teenage boy is reliving his day. And I put it down fairly quickly. Again, like 42 pages in. Because pretty early on, it was just not really fun to be following his point of view because teenage boys having some opinions. And I just realized I had no interest on following him, learning the lesson that, you know, women are actually people. So again, I'm learning to put down books, which sound maybe sometimes extreme, but because I'm learning that lesson, this year I'm having my best reading year probably ever. Like in half the year, I've had as many 5 stars as some of the years in the whole year, because again, I'm not forcing myself to push through books that might be like a 2-star. No point. Another one I gave up on is this one. This is Nogging, which is a YA one. Again, I had bought it years ago and I put it down 82 pages in because I could kind of see where things were going to go, but the premise is interesting if you enjoy YA kind of sci-fi ebook, because the main character has a body transplant, like they put his head on someone else's body. It's an interesting trope, so that's why I tried it before giving up, but again, I'm not really into YA and like romance from a teenage boy perspective, not really my thing. I am getting rid of 2 books by this author. The other one is coming. This is The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Enricks. I have really enjoyed some of his books and then really did not care for some of the other ones, including this one. Again, I can keep the post-its, but I gave up on this page 127 because I didn't like the way this female character was written. Again, it almost feels like a different author depending on the book you're reading, but I believe this one, someone had told me that this was written way before his other things and like was published later. But yeah, I just didn't care the way she was written. And then, you know, sometimes you can tell that a male author is trying to write a girl kind of quirky and like feminist, but comes off really badly. That was kind of the vibe. So yeah, I gave up. I googled the ending and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. So I just will not keep this. Blindside. This has to be one of the weirdest books I've ever read. Space. Would you even call it vampire? I don't know. This definitely has an audience though, but I don't really need it on my shelf. I'm never going to reread it. So it can go. Tall Oaks. I really enjoyed 1 or 2 books by this author. And I, you know, got his earlier work to see if I was going to like it or not. He tends to write children disappearing in small towns. And again, this one, pretty much straight away, there were a few things that bothered me. Either the way the female character was written, and for some reason, you know, some authors find a way to include random things about Israel in their books. And he did that. Oh, there you go, found it. He just gives a shout out to Netanyahu. And I was like, why? So yeah, unserious reason, but you know. Oh, a few more Stephen King. Okay, Gerald's Game, which there should be 2 in here because I realized I had was it a French edition? I had 2 copies of it and I read the first chapter one day, and when I picked it up from my jar, trying to read my physical TBR, I just decided I didn't want to because it starts pretty intense. Is it like a sexually violent scene? I don't remember details. This woman is like attached to her bed and I read what the premise was about. I was like, you know what? No. This one I did hesitate because I have heard decent things about the premise, Under the Dome, but I've heard that the ending is really bad, and the last thing I want to do is read another 1,000-page book by him to have a really terrible ending. So I'm torn. Again, feel free to convince me otherwise, but I'm leaning towards no. I believe there's a TV show. Is that one worth it? Let me know. But yeah, I've done that to myself so many times. I feel like I probably read like 20, 30 books of his, and I don't want to be disappointed again. Because like, let's be honest, like The Stand and like It, the endings are not strong. I have tried so many feel-good Japanese translation, and they make me feel like a monster because usually I don't feel anything, and I do feel like part of it is probably how dry the translation is in English, but I just feel like a monster again. This one was a friendship between a man that has a criminal record and an older woman who's disfigured and has a troubled past, and like he's trying to sell sweet bean paste and blah blah. So yeah, it's supposed to be making you feel good, but make me feel nothing. So again, someone's gonna be really happy to find it. There are some books that I should include in here, I'm realizing, because I will need them at the end of the year to do my best, or whoa, my worst books of the year. So I am gonna just remove these from the pile because they have to stay for a little while longer. But the ones that I got rid of because I wasn't feeling it, they can go. The first one is Looker. This was giving me vibes of You, because there's this woman who is very obsessed with pregnant women in her neighborhood, specifically this one who is famous, and she struggled to get pregnant. Basically her boyfriend left her because of it. I tried it because it was one of the lowest rated books on my shelf, and as soon as I realized what the actual premise was, I realized it wasn't going to be for me. In my defense, I didn't buy this, it was sent to me, so just not for me. And Space Opera had been on my shelf again for years, and it was one of the other ones that had a very low rating. In my defense also, 2 of the other books in that video I ended up enjoying. So just because they're low does not mean that I will not finish them or enjoy them. But this one felt very forced with the humor. Like, you know, when like authors are trying to be funny with like literally everything, and like at first it's fine, but like the more you read, the more exhausting it is. So yeah, I just wasn't feeling it, so out it goes. I don't know if this one I should keep it or not, but Broken Country, someone's gonna be super excited to find it because it's extremely popular, part of the Reese's book club, which can be so hit and miss for me. But this one, I went into it with the wrong expectations because it's described as a sweeping love story with the pace and twist of a thriller, which is a lie because it's extremely slow-paced, character-driven love triangle, which do not care for love triangles or just cheating in general. And in this one, you have different timelines. So like this woman met this boy when they were teenagers, they fell in love, you know, teenage love. And then later on, she's married to this man whenever the teenage boy, who's now an adult, comes back to town. Wow, so dramatic that everything fell. And yeah, I just really didn't care for where it was going. So I put it down. I was 75% into it, but I just could not continue. You're supposed to like figure out who murdered who, which 75% into it was barely starting to actually be the court case. So like sweeping, twisty, what did it say? Pace of a thriller? No, no. But it wasn't badly written. It was just, again, wrong expectation. The Devil and Mrs. Davenport is also a book that I've heard great things, but I really didn't really care for it. It is supposed to read like really sexist, like it's set in the 50s and she is living a very isolated life with her husband who's problematic, but I just didn't really care where the story was going. So I just, again, she's like going crazy, hearing voices, and a lot of people liked it, so it's just a me thing. To be fair, I put it down when it was the essay scene. So I feel like I'm at the point where I just don't want to read any. Like, there are few circumstances where it makes sense, but I feel like more often than not, I'm at the point where like you can imply it and like talk about it, you know, in that context, but like a detailed one, it's almost never necessary. It often feels like it's there for the shock value, and I don't want to read any. So King of Scars, I finally picked it up and I just didn't really like it. I would rather forget it. To be fair, I really do like the Prince Nikolai, but yeah, I would rather just remember that universe with the other books. Actually, I didn't keep any of the other books in that series. It's just enjoyable in general, but I just don't really need the books on my shelf, so this one can go. Another author that is really hit and miss for me is Blake Crouch. Abandon, I tried it for a video that actually never made it online, but I didn't really care for it. I did like Dark Matter and Recursion. Actually, upgrade the blue one right there. It could go because I didn't really care for it, but whatever, it's there. And I did really like the We Were Pine series, but I feel like I don't like his female characters. I do like that his books will keep you up at night because you have to figure out what's going on. Like, they're so twisty. They read like movies. Like, it's not, you know, intense prose, good prose, but they're fun for what they are. But this one and everything else actually I've read by him, which I think I've read everything at this point, didn't work for me. So the other book that I'm not keeping, Bad, Greedy, and Ricks, this one was actually so frustrating. I started with physical book, I switched to audiobook, could not finish it. I put it down when there was a very graphic essay scene. But to be fair, the premise, he's talking about vampires, but that's an analogy for serial killers. And he's using his mother as kind of a character and kind of making fun of her in the sense that he means for it to be a compliment by the end, but I did not go far enough. I just really, again, there's a lot of body horror. There's like a scene that lasts forever in an attic with like insect crawlings and everything, which eventually, like, I was just really over it, like, move on. But also, again, that scene that happens, again, super graphic. It happens to the most religious woman. I just felt it did not sit well with me. And again, I tried so hard and no. So I feel really, I don't know how I feel about this author anymore. It's really 50-50, but I do not recommend this one. I know a lot of people were raving about it, but no. Really not for me. Oh, there you go. The other Stephen King. Not crazy. It's also, again, Gerald's Game. So yeah, I thought this one was French. But no, I had 2 copies of English. Listen, I don't know how that happened. So another one I read during the vlog that never made it is Sign Here. I was trying like mystery thrillers and horror from my shelves. And this one, the premise is interesting. It's set in hell and it's basically someone having like a corporate job in hell, which cool. But then there was a romance that started that it's really not the vibe I thought we were going for, so I just wasn't feeling it and I decided to not finish it. Do not freak out. I'm getting rid of The Strength of the Few because I was sent an actual copy. This is the ARC, so someone will be able to keep it. I usually prefer paperbacks, but I have the hardcover for book 1 and now book 2, so I'm not going to keep the paperback, even though they're vastly superior, in my opinion. So there are definitely a couple more that could make it into this video, but like I said, I do have to keep them for my end of year videos, which, oh, actually, these 2 actually have to stay. I'm gonna get rid of the other ones, but they have to stay. I need the quotes for my end of year videos and my worst books of the year. That's still about 50 books that are getting out of this room, getting out of the library. They will be donated. Someone's gonna be happy to find them. I would love to hear how you deal with your books. Do you regularly unhaul video? Do you keep everything, trophies on your shelves? Do you just only get books from the library? I feel like I'm getting better and better at doing it, especially the ones I'm unsure about. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, including the video where I tried these 2 if you want to hear me rant a little bit. I also did a reading vlog where I tried a lot of the really popular books of the year if you want to hear my thoughts, and I will see you there. Bye.